to be saddled with growing anxieties about what we should actually eat, and about what the food we eat does to us, and for good reasons. Weight excess, poor diet, high fasting plasma glucose levels, and alcohol use disorders have a profound impact on the well-being of individuals and communities. Recent research identifies such food-related issues among the major health risk factors for adults in the United States. Although this trend is clear in most countries in the global north, it's also emerging in the rest of the world. Something is clearly wrong, and governments are taking action. Obesity, discussed with an increasing sense of urgency, has emerged as one of the most pressing issues. The World Health Organization, WHO, indicates it as a condition that increases the chances of developing non-communicable ailments such as diabetes, cardiovascular conditions, osteoarthritis, and even some cancers, including breast, ovarian, liver, and colon cancers. A priority in public health policies, obesity is described as an epidemic and a costly burden on healthcare systems. The majority of nutritionists indicate overeating as the main cause for obesity, which nonetheless cannot be decontextualized from environmental factors, such as the excessive use of cars and forms of entertainment that do not require physical efforts, as well as the tendency towards overproduction in a market dominated by large food corporations. The global food system produces cheap, calorie-rich, nutrient-poor food and underpays its workers, who are then forced to buy cheap food, as many workers in other industries do as well. This vicious cycle keeps the economic system afloat, although in an unsustainable manner, while poorly paid wage earners are ultimately blamed for consuming the wrong kinds of food and therefore for gaining weight. Accessible and cheap food constantly stimulates us to buy and eat more in a marketplace that is increasingly globalized, competitive, and fragmented. Food advertising and other forms of commercial promotion, from special offers to toys for children, also influence purchasing choices, advancing the food industry's agenda. Yet attempts at curbing overconsumption and establishing sustainable forms of food production and consumption come up against the food industry's ambitions to boost sales constantly to ensure financial returns to their investors. We are relentlessly stimulated to consume more food, and the consequences of such excess are in front of our eyes both personally and socially. However, in public discourse, obese people carry the stigma of lack of will and determination. Mainstream popular culture overall denounces large bodies as the consequence of misguided personal choices. Media strive constantly to provide apparently easy solutions to the issue, from piecemeal nutritional advice to diets with doubtful pedigrees. The debates about obesity show how scientific research, medical practices, and nutritional concerns get entangled with cultural bias, social structures, economic interests, and political negotiations. Opinions diverge between considering obesity as a personal matter and framing it as a systemic issue that requires public and political interventions. It's increasingly getting harder for citizens to understand the complexities of public health dynamics that individual decisions simply can't solve in terms of choice and responsibility within a free market. In this chapter, we'll explore how ideas, values, and practices surrounding a healthy diet are discussed, shaped, and diffused in contemporary post-industrial societies. We'll start from the consumer's experience, focusing on contradictory advice consumers are exposed to through popular culture and marketing. We'll then reflect on how the industry is trying to take advantage of such confusion to make health claims about its products, and how consumers try to ease their anxieties by pinpointing specific ingredients to be avoided. Against this background, governments try to provide reliable information through nutritional labels on packaged food, meant to guide purchasing choices, and food guides which should offer clear dietary models based on sound nutritional science. However, both tools are enmeshed in political negotiations and are subject to pressures from the food industry lobbying. The chapter will finally explore how the tension between public health and private interests also has an impact on domains as diverse as choices about food in schools and food safety policies. Media and food fads. What should we do as consumers and citizens to take good care of ourselves and our families? What sort of eating habits should we embrace to ensure our health and well-being.